Even though horror features like Shutter Island, Scream, and Little Shop of Horrors have solid acting all round really, certain performers outshone the main ensemble despite being relegated to a single scene. With a minute of screen time and a handful of lines, these roles had little reason to stand out, especially if the character is superfluous. However, certain talented stars found a way to make a minor role their own. So with that said, I am Gareth, this is What Culture Horror, and here are the 10 best one-scene performances in horror movies. Number 10, Christopher Lee, Sleepy Hollow. In this Washington Irving adaptation, Constable Ichabod Crane is tasked with investigating 3 decapitations in the town of Sleepy Hollow. During his time there, Crane discovers a startling conspiracy involving the legend of the Headless Horseman. Serving as a love letter to 1950s horror, it's no surprise to see Hammer legend Sir Christopher Lee making an appearance in Tim Burton's gothic slasher. And though his time on screen is brief, it's also crucial. Tired of Ichabod's criticisms towards the Justice Department, Lee's burgomaster orders the eccentric officer to lead the most dangerous murder case possible. Though the burgomaster only appears once, his importance cannot be emphasized enough since he's the one who kickstarts the whole damn plot. Not only that, Lee makes the most of his role because of course he does, allowing the character to stand out even more as he delivers every syllable so impeccably that he commands his only scene from beginning to end. The iconic actor effortlessly makes the simplest phrases sound immeasurably unsettling. The way he compares the decapitations to dandelion heads is deeply unnerving stuff. Though Sleepy Hollow has some over-the-top performances, especially from Christopher Walken, Christopher Lee showcases how an understated performance can leave just as much of an impact. Number 9, Peter Stormare, Constantine. Lucifer has been portrayed by some of the finest actors ever, including Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Jack Nicholson, and of course Elizabeth Hurley. Now, Peter Stormare may not be as well known, but his devilish performance as the Prince of Darkness in Constantine is a testimony to his mesmerizing acting talents. Despite being adorned in a white linen suit, Stormare gives off such an insidious energy, it's obvious who he is before he opens his mouth. Though Lucifer was meant to look far more sinister, Stormare rejected this idea, believing it would overshadow what the character had to say. And this gamble more than paid off, since it's impossible not to hang on to every one of Lucifer's utterances. Stormare relishes the role, playing the Lord of Hell with playful glee and unquenchable fury. It's hard to relax while he's on screen, since he can flip from Mr. Nice Guy to literally Satan in an instant. And the way the normally unflappable Constantine looks scared out of his mind while in Lucifer's presence emphasizes just how menacing he is. With Constantine 2 now in the pipeline, let's hope we see Peter Stormare reprise the role in the future, eh? What do you think's the greatest Lucifer portrayal of all time, though? Is it Stormare's or someone else's? You let me know in the comment section down below. Number 8, Stephen Root, The Empty Man. Few great horror flicks have had less luck in recent years than David Pryor's The Empty Man. It had awful test screenings, was shelved for 3 years, tanked at the box office, and received mixed reviews when it was finally released. However, the supernatural spook story has developed a cult following in the time since its 2020 release, largely due to its inventive spin on the Boogeyman trope. The Empty Man also should be commended for its stellar cast, including Stephen Root, who plays cult leader Arthur Parsons. Although cult leaders are often portrayed as caricatures, Root's character feels authentic, as Arthur speaks with such fervency as if he adamantly believes his dogma. He comes across as so knowledgeable and charismatic, it's easy to understand how he's maintained such sway over his followers. With that said, there's a glint of intimidation draped around the demagogue's demeanor, highlighting his true intentions. Arthur Parsons is such a fascinating character, it seems like he'll play a major part in the overarching narrative. On the contrary though, as he never shows up again, and he leaves such a lasting impression, it's a shame his character wasn't explored further. Number 7, Caitlin Stasey, Smile. Back in 2020, Parker Finn put together the 11-minute short Laura Hasn't Slept, about a young woman being haunted by a smiling entity, compelling her to seek counseling. When the counselor transforms into the grinning creature, Laura is driven irreversibly insane. 2 years later, Finn got the chance to adapt his short into a full-length feature called Smile. This psychological flick opens by recreating the short film, with Stasey reprising her role. However, Smile centers around the counselor, with Laura only featuring in the prologue. Though Stasey was amazing in Laura Hasn't Slept, she takes it to a whole new level this time around, flawlessly depicting crippling trauma, hysterical desperation, abject terror, and a psychotic break from reality, before then ending her own life, all within 6 minutes. At first, the idea of being tormented by a leering demon might sound a bit silly, but in this scene, the Australian demonstrates her predicament is anything but a laughing matter. Although all the actors in Smile are absolutely absolutely fantastic, especially the lead, Sosie Bacon. Nobody holds a candle to Caitlin Stasey. Number 6, Jackie Earle Haley, Shutter Island. In Martin Scorsese's Shutter Island, US Marshal Teddy Daniels leads an investigation on an enclosed asylum after a dangerous patient goes missing. In the end, Teddy learns he is the escaped patient, and the investigation was orchestrated by the administrator to help Teddy come to terms with his past. Even though this jaw-dropping twist is subtly hinted at throughout, there's one moment where Teddy's true identity is all laid out. After entering a forbidden ward, Teddy meets mysterious inmate George Noyce. Noyce rants and raves as if he's trying to get under Teddy's skin, but in reality, Noyce is the only person being honest with him. He tells Teddy he's not investigating anything and is simply a rat in a maze. Most importantly, he informs the so-called Marshal that all of this is for you. It's right there, man. Although the writing here is magnificent, it's elevated further by Haley's visceral performance, which can only be truly appreciated on a second viewing. Only then does it become clear his words aren't threats but warnings, and he's babbling out of frustration, not madness. And though Haley crushes just about every role he takes on, his multifaceted performance here is among his very, very best work. Thank you very much for watching this video today, folks, and if you're enjoying what you're watching, then hit that subscribe button down below for more of this What Culture stuff in your day. Number 5, Tony Todd, Final Destination. Exposition dumps in storytelling often come across as a lazy way to condense and crowbar in crucial information. However, there is an easy way to make expository dialogue more interesting. Have it recited by Tony Todd. The Candyman star's voice is so intoxicating, he can make anything sound riveting. As such, Todd's cameo in Final Destination is more than welcome. The supernatural flick opens with Alex and several classmates cheating death when they exit an airplane moments before it explodes. After one of Alex's friends soon perishes in a freak accident, he heads to the morgue to inspect the body. While there, he runs into the mortician, William Bloodworth. Bloodworth explains to Alex that he and his colleague have disrupted the Grim Reaper's plan, since they were destined to be on the airplane when it blew up. To restore balance, Death took Alex's friend's life, and intends to do the same to everyone else who survived the explosion. In the hands of a lesser actor, this dialogue could come across as convoluted or even dumb, but due to Todd's intimidating presence, natural charisma, and enchanting timbre, he owns every damn second he's on screen. Tony Todd may likewise never show up for long in any of the Final Destination sequels, but when he does, oh boy does he make each and every appearance stand out and then some. Number 4, Bill Murray, Little Shop of Horrors. In Frank Oz's delightful musical take on Little Shop of Horrors, poor florist Seymour feels like his luck is changing for the better when his alien plant becomes the talk of the town. When Seymour learns the carnivorous plant lives off human blood, he decides to kill sadistic dentist Orin Scrivello. And once Seymour arrives at the dentistry, Orin is attending to sadomasochist client Arthur Denton, played to perfection by Bill Murray. Even though this patient has no effect on the plot whatsoever, he's arguably the funniest character in the entire film. Before he even opens his mouth, it's hard not to laugh, seeing him giddily bouncing on a chair like a kid in Disneyland. Murray behaves as over-the-top as possible while still coming across as sincere. Denton seems genuinely apoplectic while drills and screws are burrowed into his teeth, enhancing the comedy exponentially. And the fact that the actor improvised most of his performance makes the sequence feel more authentic and spontaneous. Even though Steve Martin initially started off as the movie's scene stealer, Bill Murray ultimately towers over him with his impeccable comic timing and flawless delivery. Number 3, David Dastmalchian, the Boogeyman. David Dastmalchian has a talent for standing out regardless of how small a role is, as he has proven in such films as The Dark Knight, Ant-Man, Dune, and Oppenheimer. And 2023's The Boogeyman is no exception. In this Stephen King adaptation, Dastmalchian's character Lester Billings enters the office of psychiatrist Will Harper and claims a demonic entity killed his family. Unable to deal with the tragedy, Lester hangs himself, passing the curse onto Harper and his children. Considering his tragic backstory, Lester could have been portrayed as a hysterical lunatic. Instead, Dastmalchian plays the role with staggering restraint and stillness, his voice rarely louder than a whisper. But based on the defeated look on his face, there's no doubt this disturbed man is at the end of his rope. As can be expected from a supernatural horror, the Boogeyman is filled with all sorts of jump scares and unsettling images, especially from the titular creature itself. However, nothing is as skin-crawling as Lester's doomed plea for help. The Boogeyman feels like a very real threat long before it appears, purely because of David Dastmalchian's palpable performance. Number 2, Drew Barrymore, Scream. Although Wes Craven's Scream embraces cliches, it rarely feels predictable or derivative. In fact, the first installment in the meta-slasher saga subverts expectations the instant it starts. Scream opens with Ghostface phoning high schooler Casey Becker and threatening to kill her unless she plays a game centered around scary movies. Sadly, the ghoulish killer refuses to play fair and eventually stabs the teen to death before stringing her gutted corpse up on a tree. Being a big-name Hollywood actress, it was presumed Barrymore was playing Scream's lead character, which made her early departure incredibly shocking. Drew Barrymore deserves so much credit here, considering she performed the majority of this heart-racing scene alone. Even though most of her interaction with Ghostface is through the damn phone, Barrymore 100% sells how petrified her character is here. More importantly, Barrymore plays Casey like she's a well-rounded person, rather than another victim to just add to the pile. Like the classic final girl, Casey's depicted as clever, alert, and adaptable, and she puts up a serious fight against her attacker, proving her to be anything but a damsel in distress, which makes it all the more soul-crushing when Ghostface ends her life. This opening scene is masterfully shot and edited, but it's Drew Barrymore's superb performance that absolutely defines it. Number 1. Leland Orser, 7. Content warning, sexual assault will be mentioned in this entry. David Fincher's dark detective tale truly is a tour de force in acting. The cast is absolutely stacked. However, despite sharing the screen with Hollywood legends and Academy Award winners, Leland also more than managed to hold his own in 7. In the scene in question, Detective Somerset is interrogating Orser's character, who was forced at gunpoint to rape a prostitute to death with a bladed strap-on. Orser's character, simply credited as crazed man in massage parlor, tries to cooperate despite still processing the trauma he recently experienced. While watching this scene, it's really difficult to believe Orser is simply acting. Every lip quiver, hyperventilated breath, and stuttered word is so damn convincing, it looks like the actor is having a panic attack for real. Still, portraying the character this hysterical is necessary to convey how devastated he is after he was forced to commit murder in such a perverse and excruciating manner. Even though Leland Orser has had a consistent career, he's still mostly recognized for his faultless performance in 7, even though he only had 2 minutes of screen time in that 1995 picture. Hell of a performance.